Okay, let's see what happens on the 22nd of April. Ooh, they miss again. And yeah, the destroyers are going to be good and very aggressive. Leaking fuel oil. Damage to engines. Yeah, I'd say this one's gone as well. Evades pattern. Rattles bridge, rattles sub. Fire in the control room. Ah, that's it. Torpedo tubes damaged. Well, it's combat ineffective, irrespective. But more damage to the engines. Yeah, that's done. Oh, direct hit. Okay. That's all we need to see. 8 hits, yeah. Large oil slick. Done. Oh, let's get the I-31, yeah. Damages sub taking on water, great. More damage. Taking on water, more damage. More water. Well, I'd say that one's gone as well. Okay, not destroyed, but certainly rattled up and damaged. Great. Oh, I-31. Back in action. Certainly an aggressive commander. More damage, taking on some water. More damage. Who cares about rattling the sub? Now it's damaged and more water. Yeah, the coastal waters are just lethal for these subs. He shouldn't be deploying them in these waters. It's going to let me destroy a lot of submarines. Eight more hits. Yeah. Damaged, but certainly not destroyed. Okay. Japanese ships? Ooh. They're gonna get a strike on them, if that's so. Right, the roofs. Dice for the deck. Okay, 2 left, and now they're on the bombers. Well, they might kill something, but 2 isn't going to hamper this raid very much. Okay. Runway attack. Okay, that's good. So let's see now. 2 damaged, runway hits 20, so 23 hits in total. Not great, but given that quite a few of these are at extended range, I'll take it. 43 P40s. And I'll take care of the rest of the roofs. Yeah, because the roof just doesn't have the speed or maneuverability because of the huge center-aligned floatplane that it needs to beat the P40Es. So it's really meat on the table for these guys. Plus, the roof pilots are not as experienced as the P40E pilots. Great. And they've swept. Okay. And P38Gs and yet more bombers. So 23, so 27 hits today. And the B-24s, 37 in total. Okay. Okay, lots of Japanese float planes from their subs are reconning Adak. Which makes sense. Okay, looks like very little else is happening today. Okay, so let's see what the damage was. Okay, took down 2 roofs, lost 2 P-38s to ops, a Seagull and a B-25 to air. Fair enough. What's the damage this is showing? Okay, so this airfield, according to this, is very much inoperative. Okay. This is 82%. Okay. So, I am thinking that these are submarines. Okay. So, first things first. Let's turn this guy just to escort. $30. Yeah, let's let them rest up nicely. Okay. 30. Okay. So those are at 10. Then these are at 29. And then these are going to be at 19. Okay. That's nice. Okay. P40Es, you're going to sweep again. Okay. Better safe than sorry. And then you're just going to sweep every day. Okay. And you're going to continue with your search. Okay. Now, in terms of what I've got here, the destroyer minesweepers. I think they've cleared all the mines, but that's better. Okay, see. Now these guys have more mines to lay. Okay, so these guys are going to come up here and lay more mines. Okay, fair enough. Then these guys are unloading. Okay. Yeah, disband you. Just to help keep some control over what's going where. Okay. Transfer ships to and from the task force. Form a new task force. Escort. Okay, you guys can disband into ADAC. Okay, and that will give it now, yeah, even more aerial support, so that's good. Now the APs will continue unloading, and then they will go back to Dutch Harbor by coastal direct route. Okay, that's good. These guys are going to stay here and sweep. These guys are going to continue unloading. And these guys are going to continue unloading. And then these guys are going to make sure that they're fully replenished. And fully replenished. Okay. Then I'm going to take the light cruiser from TF-15, and I'm going to try and make a second task force from this. So 6-inch Mark 47s, 6-inch Mark 53s. Okay. So from Task Force 10, form new task force, surface combat, Task Force 10. Okay. And now more from Task Force 7. One, two, three. Okay. It's going to be a 5-ship task force. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, take one of them. Transfer one of them. Okay, so then I have 2 heavy cruisers and 4 destroyers, 2 light cruisers and 4 destroyers, and 2 light cruisers and 4 destroyers. Great. And let's use these 2 destroyers as escorts. So you're going to unload here and then go back to Dutch Harbor. Okay. Now, who's docked? Is anyone here docked? Okay, just leave it. It's fine for now. Okay, so this will make level 3 next turn. And then what I've got here is 4 separate infantry regiments and a few bits and bobs. Okay. 69, that continues to be flown in nicely. Okay. "53rd Separate Infantry Regiment." Okay. Well, let's get you, let's get you moved over to Adak, because that'll be useful. Okay, so you're going to add to Yearling more mines. I've now got 3 combat tasks, surface combat task forces set up. Okay. I want to avoid him getting reinforcements into Kiska, so that force is going to be on hand there. And then I'd like a better naval commander. 69, 62. That sounds like a plan. Okay. And follow task force, route and control. Where is... Oh, max react. 6, 6, and then the one that's going to stay on station 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is going to be 5. And these float planes are going to do ASW. No, they're not. They're going to do... Get a new pilot. Okay, yeah. Right, so if he comes back, there's a decent chance my ships will react towards him. Okay. And then, last but not least, I would like to transfer this guy to Adak. And then from Adak, do sweeps of Atu. Oh, I need fuel tanks. Okay. Fair enough. So I need more supplies over there. Okay. Now, in terms of the flak that the Japanese have, there is 7.7mm Type 92s go to 2100, 13.2mm Type 93s go to 3200, And then their 20mm and 25mm, of which they've got quite a few, go to 6,200 and 7,000 respectively. The 40mm are rare and are to 8,000. But I think that 8,000 is probably a pretty decent range for these guys. Now, airfield attack. Let's set all the bombers to airfield attack. That's all of them. These guys are training. Get 4 more pilots from replacements. And these guys ought to be good at... Jesus, nothing. Excellent. Okay. And combat reports. Not really so much. Now, what would be useful is minesweeping, but make this into an ASW combat task force and make it very aggressive. 3 political points, okay. And then have them go up here and see what they can find. SW2, SW1, not really great. On the plus side, I can refuel everything now from Adak. $90 versus 182. Okay. SIGINT. 12th Naval Construction is at Attu. First Engineer is at Attu. Okay. Heavy volume of radio traffic. Weather. Okay, stuff should fly tomorrow. Now, in terms of OP, operational reports. Okay, nothing too worrying. Okay, P-38 crashed on landing. 10 Japanese ships moving northwest at 162.51. Okay. 162.51. Yeah, no, that's just a submarine. And in terms of score now, 25 Allied planes lost versus 16 Japanese. Fair enough. The Japanese get 80 points for bases. Okay. And they've had 4 ships, according to this, sunk. 3 midget subs. Oh, 5. Okay, so one of these is false. I'd say I-24 has gotten away and hasn't sunk yet. Okay. Top pilots. 1 kill each only. Okay. And that's good enough for now. So we'll send this on, and then what I'll do is I'll tell you all about my planning, and now that I've established myself in Adak, what my plan is for what I do next. Okay, so Here is a look at a little work I did in Word to look at the aerial situation, including pools and reinforcements, and the naval situation, including pools and reinforcements, and how that correlates with my sealift and my maximum amphibious combat AV potential. I think this is really the key in terms of how much strategy you can have in a small scenario like this. This is going to be key to figuring out some form of strategy. So essentially, when you look at it, the game starts with them having, or the Japanese having 69 fighters on map, but a total pool depth of 194. And then if you look at the Allies on the first day, they have a much larger pool depth, about 300. But a lot of those planes are locked into, the Kitty Hawk and the 1P-38 squadron. So there's a little bit more difficulty getting them active on the front. Good number of bombers. And then really until the 4th of May, when he gets Betty's, there really isn't any striking power going to the Japanese. So this is purely defensive. Okay. Now I then get another PV-1 squadron, a PBY squadron, 2 squadrons of F4F4s on a CVE, 2 Kitty Hawk squadrons, and then another Ventura squadron up to the 18th of May. And then the 22nd of May, he gets his big reinforcement, which is 2 carriers and 1 light carrier, 2 fleet carriers and 1 light carrier, with 54 A6M3s and another 18 A6M2s, and then a strike group of 102 planes. So that's going to be enough to really wreck some stuff. So really, whatever I'm going to do apart from holding things defensively is going to have to be done by, the 23rd, 24th of May. And in terms of fighters, I'm going, my on-map force plus pool depth is about 1.5 times his. So whatever happens, I can't afford to lose more than 3-2 in his favor. If I do, I'll absolutely run out of fighters. The Venturas, I have an awful lot of them in pools, but I have very few on map. So really, the depth of my bomber force is significantly less than the depth of his. Okay, so 22nd of May, that's a key date. Now, if we look at the ships, he has 2 cruisers, light cruisers, and 3 destroyers, 16 submarines of all types, of which I think I've sunk 4 at this stage. 1 regular sub, well, probably not sunk, but I've certainly very heavily damaged 1 and moderately damaged another, and I've sunk 3 of the midget subs. The APDs, APs and AKs are all fully functional, as is the armed merchant cruiser. Now I have 2 heavy cruisers, 3 light, 13 destroyers, 2 destroyer mine layers, 3 destroyer mine sweepers, 6 subs, and then, various support echelons. I only have 2 XAPs and 2 XAKs. Now, at the beginning of the game, given that my AKs are going to be transporting supplies from pretty much now going forward, for the first run or so, they were trying to transport in troops because that was very important because I only had 5 AV. But from now, I'm going to rely on the XAPs to do my troop transporting. So those 2 XAPs have a troop load ability of 3,000 and a kind of cargo ability of 3,600. The combat AV I have on map, essentially in Dutch Harbour, is 404 AV, which would require a sealift capacity of 12,200 troop cost and 3,600 cargo cost. So in other words, what that really is saying is that with the XAPs, the 2 of them, in my first lift, I can reduce the required lift to just 9,200 troop cost, because I can carry the 3,600 of cargo and 3,000 of the 12,200. Now, 9,200, okay, of troop load is going to require how many more trips of those AKs or those APs? Well, my rule of thumb is that troop space can carry 1/4 of the cargo that the troop load cost is, and cargo space can carry 1/4 of the troop load that the cargo load space is. So I'm going to say that the XAPs can carry roughly 4,000 troop load cost if they convert their cargo space to troop space also. So that's going to be 9,200 divided by, really it should be 3,900, but let's call it 4,000, and that's going to basically be 3 more trips. So essentially the 2 APs will require 4 trips to get all of the combat power that is in Dutch Harbour up to Adak. Also, they'd require 4 trips to land troops on Kiska or Atu. So the problem there is that's a lot of trips back and forth. Now, it may well be worth it if I can avoid him defeating 1 regiment that I land, and I suppose I could use the XAKs for that as well. If 1 regiment that I land at Kiska, and then I'll just do 4 trips and basically bring 4 regiments in, 1 on each trip. That's certainly doable. That would take about 12 days to do, but I do think Kiska would reliably fall if I do that. Okay, so then really by the 30th of the 4th, I then get additionally a light cruiser, a heavy cruiser, or 2 heavy cruisers, 4 destroyers, 3 battleships, and another XAK and another XAP. So at this point then, I'm able to drop 4,680 troop load, and 5,400 other. Okay. Now, from the 15th to the 30th, that's, given my very limited sea lift capacity here, that's probably going to be, the 4 trips that it takes to bring everything to Adak Island. So really, on the 30th, I should have all of that force at Adak. And at this point in time, the Japanese, they have 2 cruisers, but they, for another almost 3 weeks, they're not going to have enough to keep me at bay. So, on the 30th of April, if I sail these units from Dutch Harbour, bring them into Adak and load them up, I ought to have enough to transport, about 40% of my combat troops. So that's probably a regiment and a half, and that would be enough to hold. And then by the 5th of May, I actually get APAs. And at that point, I could drop the entire group in one go. Now, the problem is if I wait till the 5th of May and I drop that entire group in one go, then I don't have a huge number of days before his carriers get there. Probably enough, though. The other thing is, on the 5th, I also get a reinforcement of another 174 AV. And so at that point, I could be dropping, 500 plus AV on an island. So I think the plan is to have everything ready to go by the 30th. Then, load up everything that's on Kiska, at least initially, and see if I can't take, or everything that's on Adak initially, see if I can't take Kiska on the cheap. Then, with the ships that arrive on the 5th, do it properly. And then, with the ships that arrive on the 11th, take them and have my troops on Atu Island and fighting for it by, the 19th. That's basically the plan. If I take Kiska cheaply and quickly earlier, I'll obviously go a bit earlier, but I'm not going to assume it's going to be quicker and easier. And then after this, then we just have to hold on, really. That's the name of that game. But essentially, from the 5th of May, I have enough sealift, just under 18,000 troop carrying capacity and 24,000 cargo capacity, or vehicles, other devices and such like, to carry the full 578 combat AV I have, amphibiously loaded with ample supplies, and drop them, in a day. So that's the plan. Continue building up Adak. Get ready to bounce Kiska very quickly with this by dropping whatever I can in initially, and then drop all of the rest of it as soon after the 5th as I can. And then I've got 2 weeks to take Kiska, load up again, and land on Atu. And then his counterstroke is going to come in, and I'd better have it all sorted by then, or I'm in deep trouble. Now, he is actually going to get a very large brigade of like 260 AV, and he has about 100 in each of Kiska and Atu, but he's going to get about 252 or 262 AV, I forget, in a big combat brigade starting on the 27th of April. So at that point in time, he doesn't have a sterling combat force. I mean, by the 29th, he's going to have 2 heavy cruisers, 2 light cruisers, and 4 destroyers. I can beat that force relatively easily. And it's not going to be till the 19th that he's going to have more force. Now, really, on the 22nd of May, he has enough that he can force a landing anywhere he wants. But up until then, he can only force a landing by putting, his heavy cruisers against my heavy cruisers, plus minus my battleships. So that's going to be a very tough and costly thing for him to do. So anyway, so there you have it. Shipping capacity basically dictates the plan, as logistics always do. Logistics always dictate your plans. And, basically up until the 5th of May, I can't sealift my entire combat force in one go, so I'm just going to have to penny pack it into Kiska if it looks reasonable around the end of the month. And if it doesn't, then I'll have to wait another while and just very, very quickly do the entire job between the 5th and the 20th or so. Okay, so that basically is my planning. Here's the aerial planning, and here's the naval availability. Comparing that to APAPA sealift and raw AV and required sealift for that. So there you go. I hope that is helpful in helping you understand how I plan the phasing of the mission. So, you know, very little sealift initially, secure Adak. Once I've got a little bit more sealift, consider dropping a regiment at a time into Atu or into Kiska. Use that those landings to create surface battles, which will allow me to attrit his force and also to draw submarines in and attrit them. And then once I have the whole force available, hopefully drop everything else into Kiska, take it rapidly, and then very rapidly move on to Atu before his carriers get there, and then hold on desperately when his carriers get there. You know, because if I was him, one thing I would be considering is if the Allies threw everything to Kiska and Atu, I would consider taking Adak and then just having them wither on the vine with surface combat and carrier patrols between Dutch Harbour, Kiska and Atu, using Adak as a safe port. And, you know, in a longer term game, I think that would actually work out if you were Japan. You know, take the weak spot that they're going to leave undefended because they've thrown everything into taking Kiska and Atu, cut them off, wither them on the vine, and then retake those things on the cheap, knocking 1.5 to 2 divisions of US infantry out of the war and into POW camps very cheaply. Okay, so there you go. I'll leave it at that, and then I welcome any questions or comments in the comment section, and I'll see you for the next turn tomorrow.